Restarting my speech in 3, 2, 1. The sea levels are rising. Global warming is causing icebergs to melt. Doomsday is quickening. All these words that we hear on a daily basis, but what actions do these people do? We don't really hear much on that, right? People are used to all of this. They don't take any action seriously because they don't feel the harms directly. And they've only heard of the harms and have never been shown the progress that has actually been made in order to stop this from happening, right? People indirectly don't know what's going on their own Earth and on their own planet because they've only been told that the Earth is dying. To further extent, it looks like the scientists and media are just blaming the people and are not showing them what's actually going on. There will be a point when these people think they have only done enough. What happens is blame amongst each other, right? However much action they do, they just give up till the end, the only part that they see in the media is the harms and the disastrosity that is an impact from their actions, right? Now, goal. Our goal here is which is the most effective way for the media to encourage sustainability in the most moral way. And our mechanism, it's simple. Showing the progress and impacts that environment movements give through news and media, or showing progress that has been done on a daily basis, right? Second, we'll also ban content that shows extreme or disastrosity of our environment in the same way we ban explicit content, right? Now, moving on to my arguments. Why is this immoral or principally wrong? You are feeding people with fear. Despite whatever the outcome is, the idea of using fear to make change is already immoral at its own. This is only indirectly limiting people from knowing what's actually going on. This just supports the portrayal of how toxic media can really be and be exaggerated. Not to mention, if we continue to only portray the bad, it would be like the boy who cries wolf. People are always used to seeing bad images of the environment. Ironic as well, as people can easily just say it's edited images because of how the community has kept on sharing these through Facebook and how AI has already been more flexible in our era, where many situations are very much exaggerated. Eventually, when something big or bad events actually harms the media or actually happens, people don't really know the difference or what they can do to fix that problem from enlarging. We need to understand that people all react to news very differently. It would be hard to let children learn from news if all the news shown was only only the harm and the disastrosity that's happening inside of our environment. Instead, we can actually show the progress and go to schools to socialize about what we can do to increase and maintain the progress if we really wanted to socialize and actually get people to understand this better. Now, second argument here is about effectivity, right? Now, we'll just do a short comparison here. We are so used to the glorification and seeing disastrous impacts going on in the environment. Every time we scroll TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, that's all we see. Because people are so used to it, it would make much more sense if instead we were to show the progress and improvement from our actions. Then people could feel like the actions and what steps were done to actually reach that, and they'll actually know what they're doing most that can actually be more beneficial, etc. And they'd also be easier to actually point out what is actually causing these to happen, whether it's companies, corporations, or even their own doings. Second, whereas if we were to show on media only the bad, then it's only trying to take benefit from making people feel scared, and it's already such a glorification of this. If this really worked, then we would have seen more change since ages ago, right? But clearly that still is not enough. Now, this will also make people or create people blame each other and make people go against each other. Well, let's sort this out for a few actors and stakeholders. First, we're going to be talking about social movements. Social movements being told that they're ineffective, right? Let's take a look at how social movements are now, especially the environmentalists. They, at first, were given exposure and supported by the government because of desperation and seeing that this is actually a problem. Even more part of society are being more open towards this because they're seeing the need of environmentalists in our own era. But now that this has been going on for a while, the environmentalists will only be cancelled for not showing enough progress in fixing the environment problems. We can ensure this movement will also still have power if we show more of the progress, because now the movements will need to give reports and ensure the progress sticks. They will have more support from society as well if we show them the growth that's actually happening behind the bars and far from what a society is actually facing in their real life, right? Counterbalance. Being able to identify the problem, right? Because now that we actually show them the progress and what does good and bad towards the environment, they can actually be able to identify the problems. If corporations were to do bad behavior towards the environment, people would be able to point out and say this company is doing bad. Whether it's polluting the environment or taking extreme amounts of resources from a certain community or society, right? Now, in simpler words, this is better check and balance, right? Now, let's talk more on the further impact or more stakeholders. Talking about from the government, right? Government telling people to do better on micro level is something that is always going to be there inherent when the environment is vulnerable here, right? People trusting greenwashing companies or green products and small actions that could be beneficial, but people will think that's enough and question the impacts of their steps to help sustainability itself because they are only shown the bad and the harms of the environment. So they question how big their actions really are, especially as we only show the disasters that are happening inside of our environment. They don't really see any big impact from their own small actions, from like reducing the amount of plastic or recycling, etc. What this does is people will think their actions are not enough and possibly just blame the government for not taking more strict protocols. And they will also think that their actions are dismissed or not important or don't give any impact and would probably just justify their wrongdoings even more for the environment, right? Understand how the media also affects people. If the people were to only see the disasters of the environment in the media, people would only blame the government and expect them to do something about it. That leads to more aggressive campaigning and rage to be shown by those who don't think that they're being heard of, or who think that they are doing already enough with the environment, but they don't really see stricter actions from other society and from the government itself. Now, this could also lead to an impact on greenwashing companies itself. Greenwashing companies not being able to take profit off of trying to get to people or taking care of the environment itself, right? Because greenwashing was first like very big and glorified since these people are desperate in trying to help the environment because they think that's what they have to do, right? They find this as a beneficial way to get people to get profit from people's fear of the better environment. This shows how companies and corporations take advantage of this fear that in many cases have been misleading and even outright lying to its consumers. This leads companies and corporations to build capitalism off of fear of the environment and the desperation of people for being blamed and in fault of disastrous environment. Another really immoral example here is politicians getting votes from showing to society that they can do better towards the environment, when later on, if they get elected, they just put the blame on companies that harm the environment and society that aren't following or sticking to the protocols for the environment itself. Last further impact or analysis here is we're going to be taking a look at the WALL-E movie, right? We can see how with the growth of technology, the more we show how disastrous the environment is, people always try to fantasize about running away to Mars or finding other technology ways around to drive around than actually dealing with the problems inside of our environment and actually recycling, reusing, or the 3R and adapting to a more sustainable lifestyle because they believe that in the era we live in right now, can already just run away from that. They already give so many like fantasies inside of their head just because they aren't willing to do more for the environment itself. And that's and especially as we're showing the more disastrous side of the environment itself, people will believe that the scientists and the government will already have a solution towards this, and they will always find a way out. And these people don't really need to do anything about this because there's already the really like modern technology we have on our side to actually fix this. And B, let's say the worst case happened and the environment really became that disastrous and we lose many resources. At least we are showing that pretty pictures of what the environment looks like towards the generation that comes after us. The rivers that weren't just filled with ornaments of trash, but the actual blue water. Compare this to if we always showed them were the bad images of forest fire. What will happen? Blame, blame, and blame. The generation before us could have done better, like to prevent this, etc. All the memories of the environment we have left are only the disastrosity, and that is why we propose. Thank you.